your brain, ticking, thinking, asking, dungeon, what's going to happen in the dungeon? Well, let me, the steward of these towers of Alton, enlighten. Those peasants who dare enter the dungeon will be immersed into the horrible and twisted history of these towers of Alton and its surrounding lands. On this journey, you will meet many infamous characters who will bring to life its gripping stories and twisted tales. They will entertain you, guide you, murder you. No, that's my little joke. They won't guide you. And because I don't like you, I'll let you into a little secret. There is a river in the dungeon. It is called the Black River. You will ride in a boat down the Black River and you will have a wickedly wonderful, horrible time. Scary fun is the name of the game. Once in the dungeon, life will never be the same. You, where have you come from today? Sorry? No, I heard you. I'm just sorry. Sinners, your fate is sealed. No turning back. I, the steward of these towers of Alton, wish you a horrible time.
Peasants, you are staring into the eyes of justice. For in this year of our Lord, 1602, I, the Bishop of Stafford, have been appointed by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth to be Justice of the Peace for this shire, and as such, I shall administer to its needs both spiritual and judicial. To my flock of lambs, I shall be both shepherd and butcher.
We've encountered the steward, we've met the bishop, we've seen the torturer, we've then headed through down and we've met the landlady of the Welsh Harp Inn and heard tale of Dick Turpin. She's then passed us, once we've survived that area, we then get passed through to the doctor's surgery down here, where the doctor has just been on a trip to Eyam, about 20 miles away, and he's come back with stories about what's happened there. The story being that the Black Death had managed to find its way up to Eyam in some blankets, and a number of the people in the village had become infected, and they made the sacrifice to barricade their town in and stop the disease from spreading any further. And sadly around 230 inhabitants of Eyam died doing that, but the doctor's made it back here, but sadly he's found himself on the slab underneath this, underneath here. Let's see if we can just unwrap him slightly as well. There we go, so he's not having a brilliant day there. But then our surgery assistant here is here to explain all about the buboes, about the bad bits, the bad blood, the leeches, and all the other horrible things that are associated with the plague, and brings the story to life. Again, like in other shows, with a person pulled out of the audience and put into the operating chair here. The show then plays out. I imagine a few of you are similar to how, familiar with how the plague show runs, so we'll be doing it that way. But again, it's got that Alton overlay, it's got the stories associated with the local area, and we're adding little bits into it as well to bring it even more to life. Just while we're in here as well, just so you know, you've got Kieran Smith, who's our artistic director behind you there, who's pretending he's not here. And you've got Dave from Holloviz, and Phil there from London Dungeon, and Lee there as well. So these guys are doing all the magic that makes it, bring it to life and gives it all, ties everything together and creates this well-oiled machine that we know and love, and we know works really well for entertaining our guests. Some other stats for you as well that we didn't talk about in the other rooms. The group size is around 27. You'll be going in batches of around 6. You'll be going through, is it 6 or 8 minutes? 8 minutes. 8-minute flow on this one. So we're going to keep pushing people through the attraction at that rate. Yeah, anything from
Well,
you,
just
Chris?
in terms of other stats, I know you guys are kind of interested in that sort of thing as well. We did a bit of a calculation. We think somewhere in the region of about 220 people have worked on this project to bring it all together, and it's really nice. One of the reasons why I wanted to bring you into this room, just so you can see the fact that we've got people like, we've got electricians, we've got people like Dave from Holidays, Eddie, we've got Kieran, you know, I've got all of my backstage team who are now working on understanding what Dave and the team have put in from a technical perspective. The team over in costume are dealing with over 700 separate items of costumes, the wigs, the shoes, the undergarments, all the signature pieces. Scenic construction team are in, working with Jeff's team to understand how we're going to make sure that this stays in tip-top condition. Lee from stage management has been working tirelessly with Phil, who's up from London, who's been helping us from London Dungeon with the direction. So we've already done 4.5 weeks of rehearsals. That's been based in the Corporate Hospitality Suite down by Exeter. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And this is really our first week where we've managed to come into the building and really start breathing some life into it. And this is just day 6 of many to come, where we're just going to continually fine-tune and just tweak, and as we find what works, what doesn't work, as we find just those little nuances and those tiny little alterations, whether it be a sound cue or a lighting cue, a prop, a line, and we're now in that process as everything's beginning to come together of just all that meticulous work in terms of the detail. And that, for me, that's the bit that really, that's the really exciting stage where you can just see it all come to life.
Yeah, and on that as well, I mean, normally from when Kieran and I look at other dungeons, this is the 11th one. So this is the 6th in the UK, but the 11th globally. And normally we have around, what is it, Kieran, 18 months to kind of get something from concept through to completion. With this one, from getting it concepted up and signed off at board level, it's actually only been 6 months. So we've really kind of gone with some gusto to get this to where it is now, and that's testament to the team that we've got within Merlin and within Alton, and like all the people that Chris mentioned. So we're really proud of where it's at the moment. Like you say, a few more layers of props and a few more layers of dressing, and getting the actors into those costumes is going to be fantastic in these next few days. Great.
I'm sorry, I don't want to delay proceedings because I know you guys have got a job to do, but whilst we've got a little bit of light, because I know these guys are really interested in what we've had to do to transform the building from its previous iteration as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Could you just give them a little bit of insight into that?
Yeah, so the ride itself, which you're all familiar with, the layout of the ride stays the same. We're utilising that. It's a great ride, but within that, all the scenes have changed, so it's going to be a very different different experience. But it's amazing actually once you begin to peel back the layers and peel back the old theming and the old structure. This is a huge building, and it's really allowed us to create an attraction here where we can really replicate what other dungeons do really well. Just that sense of travelling through on a journey from, you know, where the judges sentence you through to the boat ride and through to all the different scenes to our fantastic finale. So it's been really interesting from my point of view just to see the way that the space and the use of the space has changed. There are still some familiar, for those of you who are really keen, there are just a couple of tiny little bits here and there that you might still spot, but nothing to do with the...
You mean like that big wall on the outside?
Like the big wall on the outside, which won't be there. But yeah, it's been a fantastic building. It's really lent itself to what we're trying to achieve. Here. There's lots of space, there's lots of height, so we can work in lots of gags. But you know, from a tech point of view, it's been actually a great building to work in because there's lots of space. So from a maintenance point of view and installation point of view, it's been one of the easier. It's never easy, but it's been one of the easier attractions to do, which has allowed us to concentrate on some of the more detailed.
Are you going to be decorating the outside space to match to some degree?
So yeah, there's still quite a bit of dressing and decoration to go on the outside. So what you see now is probably what 75, 80%,
Yeah, I'd say
80%
that,
of where we're there. We've got fence lines to go in. We've got some other features on the archway to go in. There's a lot of dressing and photo opportunities. That first room you see we've got a ticketing function on the left hand side. On the right hand side will be as you'd expect, a queue line and what have you to allow us to do our batching. There's a photo opportunity in there as well. So yeah, there's still an awful lot to do to bring that first initial area to life.
I mean, the importance for us at the moment is to get the actors in, get them trained, get them kind of familiar with the space so that we can hit the ground running on the 23rd. We can always add in props, dressing, all that stuff, out of hours around these guys, but making sure, because the performance is key to the success of this. Getting fantastic actors, make sure that everybody enjoys their experience, goes and tells their friends about it, and then more people.
So we've put all the actors through, as you'd expect, a rigorous audition process. I'm sure for those of you who are familiar with the resort will probably recognise a few faces along the way. They have been treated exactly the same way as someone that's new. They have had to go through a day-long audition where we look for their ability to, from a characterisation point of view, taking direction, through to just their, simple ability to adapt to a changing audience, to adapt to that, to keeping that slightly repetitive nature, keeping that character alive, and the ability to learn 9, 10 different roles and bring something to each different role. And it's great to see, because it means we've got a great mixture now of people that have been with us for a number of seasons through to people that this is their first time. Some of them are going to work solely in here. Some of them you may see in other roles around the resort. We've got currently we have 25 people in rehearsal. I'd expect that number to go up, and on any one day we'll have at least 12 actors in here.
Okay, so this is the fifth and final show in the dungeon tour. So you'll have you've been through the Bishop, you've been down the river. We then have a ride offload show, actually, which we didn't talk about before. When everybody gets off the ride, we do have a show, don't we, Chris, to kind of collate everybody, because everybody gets off in batches of 9, that group of 27. So we do have a rolling show there as well, prior to you coming in and seeing the torturer. And then you go to the Welsh Trap Inn, then go to the Plague, and then you find yourself in this cottage in Burslem. Now, this is our ghost show, and within the dungeon estate, no two ghost shows are the same. So there are tricks in this that we haven't done in other ones, and the story here is fantastic. It tells a story I'm sure you're all very familiar with, the story of Molly Lee, the Witch of Burslem. Now, I don't think it's nationally known too well, is it? And we're hoping that by putting it into here and having a local story that we can talk about a lot is going to pay dividends. It's going to be great. It's going to be something that people want to come and see. Now, the story itself, if you're not familiar with it, talks about this woman called Molly Lee, who was from Burslem, who was born slightly ugly and disfigured, and wasn't particularly liked within the village. She got a job selling milk, and everybody thought that she was watering the milk down, and she was cursed, and she was causing problems in the village. And ultimately, when she died, people then saw a spirit and blamed her for pretty much everything that was going wrong in the town. So ultimately, the person in charge, whose name I forgot this morning, and I'm forgetting it again, but it's Mr. Spencer. Sorry?
The rector.
The rector, that's the word I keep forgetting, the rector, decided to exhume her body, get the coffin up, and throw in her pet crow. Was it crow or raven? Raven, I knew that, raven. Into the coffin again, bury that in a different direction, and then hopefully that would do away with the spirits that were causing problems in the town. Sadly, that didn't work, and her spirit still causes grief in the area. So we're going to bring that show to life here. Obviously, it follows a similar route to what we do with our other ghost shows. The costumes you can see here, this would be Molly, and this is the lady who lives in the cottage. So without wanting to explain all the gags that are going on, I'll pass it over to Chris, so you can add any other elements to it that your guys have been working with.
Yeah, I think really it's about not wanting to really give away much in this room. It is the finale. I think, as Eddie said, just expect the unexpected, as you would do in a ghost show. And for guests coming in here for the first time, I think this is certainly going to be one of the rooms they're really going to remember, and it's fitting that it's the finale. There's lots of different gags and effects in here, and as you said, there's a couple that are new to the ghost room concept. So.
And when we've done other new attractions, when we did Berlin, we ended on the ghost show, and that served us really well, because that whole knife edge that we do of keeping people scared, entertained, laughing, crying all the way through, ending with this has always served us very well. We did it in Berlin. We ended on a ghost show also, I believe, in San Francisco. And we know that will work well for us here. That isn't to say that we don't leave the guests with a smile on the face when they leave. There's a couple more gags and effects in the corridor that sadly we can't go through today. But as well, we make sure that any of the guests leave with a smile on their face, and make sure that they tell their friends so that they can come and experience the Alton Towers Dungeon for themselves. So we're a week and a half away, I think, from putting the public into the space. Lots of dressing still to go on, lots of rehearsals still to go on, lots of costumes, lots of makeup, lots of that piece, but we're in a good position. And I'm very proud of where we've taken it to this point, and I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone thinks of it. Okay, thank you very much.
I think just to add, just one thing that I hadn't mentioned in the previous room was in terms of the ride. One of the things that we've been very passionate about is making sure that and they're doing it now, is that we're using actors within the ride element as well. Yeah. One of the things that we didn't want to do was to break that bubble. So once you're in the dungeon, you are in, and your experience continues throughout. And the rides team do a fantastic job, and we still have them there, but they're hidden. The people that will be loading you into the boat, the people that will be taking you off the boat are actors, and as such assume characters, and as such help continue the journey without it breaking. And that's something that's really important.
Yeah, so it's a very good point. We've not done that before, and I think that's where this will really kind of take that ride engagement up to another level. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Are there any questions for Chris and Eddie at this stage?
Yeah. Yes. How much of the ride system is actually being used? Because when it was Charlie, there was only a small bit of it used. How much are you using now?
It's a similar footprint to that, because for a dungeon, if it was any longer, it kind of throws the whole thing. I mean, the ride itself, I think, is 4 minutes and 2 seconds.
Yes.
Don't quote me on that.
Yes.
Someone can go around with a stopwatch when we're open, but it's around 4 minutes.
That was with 9 fully grown adults.
Yeah. So
give or take a few seconds either way.
So the time that you have for that has to then pack into the same as this show.
Yeah.
So you can't make it any longer. It'd be lovely to. It could be, that's not to say that in future years you couldn't expand on that, have a longer flow, or that, and change it round.
What it has given us as well is it's given us the ability to drop in an extra show, which is the wise one. Yeah. So rather than it just being a little bit of a pause and a lull while everyone gathers, again, really keen alongside the ride actors to then keep the experience running, and therefore we're able with the timings to drop in another character, which actually we've been able to turn into a show all of its own. We've supported with a talking head, and it'll give us some really nice, again, some unique kind of banter moments, I suppose, and it gives us that nice counterpoint of the kind of fairly horrific, horrible boat journey. Give us that counterbalance of the humour before going back into torture.
A bit of light and dark. Yeah.
A bit of light and dark. A bit of shade.
So it's not just bombarding you with gruesomeness. It's good. It's a good point. That whole kind of Wise One show certainly lifts it at the end. So it's a good point.
Sean, you have a question?
Yeah, just in terms of one of my favourite things about the dungeons is like the smells throughout it. I assume there's going to be smell pods.
There'll be smell machines. I mean, we should. It's hard working in them all the time. Having them on all the time while we're building everything. But once we get the level set, the guests coming through, they're going to be fantastic. We've got rotten corpse smell, have we? And
there's I think at the moment we're up to about 9 different smells in here, and we'll probably end up with a few more by the time we've concocted our own from mixing a few
That's
bits
really
and
good. I
bobs.
mean, Alton Towers has always been great with the smells and scare mazes. I think you do it better than anybody else. So
That's great, thank
I'm looking
you.
forward to that in here and seeing, ooh, smells-wise, what are we going to have?
Well, one of the things that we were very conscious of was that because it's not just the Ents team dealing with it, we're quite happy to walk around for 6 weeks stinking of rotten corpse.
We have to get it
We've
right.
got people that, you know, we've got people, external contractors who have to go home and explain why they stink of zombie or something.
Yeah.
So we thought we'll leave that to one of the last last features.
But that goes with smoke as well, putting it into the smoke
Yeah.
that we're going to do, and kind of enveloping people, guessing all the smell, the sound, all the sights, all the props, bringing the whole thing to life. It just comes in that kind of final few days.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing it.
Great stuff.